Ow, cat.
So, wait a minute, hold on. Let me get this straight.
The minute I hit the start streaming, the cat jumped up onto my knee and clawed it to hell.
That's
Okay,
funny.
you're alive. We're alive on Moonbeam. We should be live on Twitch. Half a second.
I can confirm about the Twitch one.
Okay, yes, we are live on Twitch. We are live here on Moonbeam. Hello, 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 hello.
Yes, hello.
I'm gonna have to mute you guys
Yeah.
before we start.
Oh, really?
While I go, we'll send out this post of link to both the Moonbeam.
I mean, that would probably help.
I mean, it definitely would.
Who knows what kind of curse things you guys will talk about in the pre-stream.
Hey! You're dang right. I don't mean to sound bad about that, but you're not wrong. And copy this image. Paste. Alrighty.
Post that there.
The one time that I like flippin' need a stupid third monitor, I swear. I hate this.
What's this here?
No. You over here. Not interrupt the thing over there. So apparently, when I hop on to, watch and keep track of the streams there, one goes down and the other one doesn't.
What do you mean?
I have to have them open in their own separate windows. Otherwise, they pause, and I can no longer, watch them. It's slightly irritating. As I said, the one time that I wish that I had access to a third monitor to throw it up on.
Fair enough. What's this here?
Close that one.
And then post this.
Yep-a-doo.
Now that it's all been sent out, I wish I could do that automatically, but I don't have any methods. Hello, gemstones. I am the Dushko. It's my
Why is your what? Oh, your person all the way up at the top there? I have no
Oh,
idea.
okay. Cool. I wasn't seeing it on the stream.
You're not seeing it on the stream.
There it is. Oh, that's why. Um,
Did you move it
I
without thinking?
I moved my I moved my icon around a little bit. I just scrolled down.
You know, you should really improve that.
I am the Dutchco. I have been working on this whole system for a while now, and you can find me here at Twitch, here on Moonbeam, and on YouTube, all by the same name. And well, we're here to playtest the new system that I've been working on. And here are my three. By session 1, I'm hoping to have a fourth person at least. Maybe a fifth. We'll see. But here are the 3 for session 0. Starting from
Yes, I know.
left to right, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, so that would be me.
Yes, it would.
Hi. I'm Fluffy. I normally do the background stuff for Dash.
Yeah,
You can't find me on social. I avoid it.
He's the raccoon that steals my ham.
I'm not always a raccoon. And it's good ham.
Next up, I believe, is you, Jade.
The Black, give me 1 second. May I go then? Because getting shit done really quick. It'll only take a minute or so.
Okay. I guess move on to the next one.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to move on to the next one. We'll come back to you, Jade.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. So then that's
Lilith.
you, Lilith.
Hi, I'm Lilith. If you know me, then you know me. If you don't, you don't. I'm not really going to give out socials, but I'm really just here to support the stream and to support the system.
Well, I think Jade was hoping that would be a little bit longer.
No, that was the perfect amount of time.
Oh, good.
My
You can
name
almost say it was just
is
right.
enjoy a new gaming system and support a good amount of people I care about. Because everybody in this call, I like you guys.
No.
What? I'm just being honest.
Well, thank you for that.
Of course.
I should not be as chaotic as I normally am.
Oh no, you can.
All right, cool. Anyways,
I'm curious as how many people are going to just forehead meet palm when they hear that. Wow.
Oh, that sounds like a lovingly.
Indeed.
So, Rune Belts takes place in as this being a session 0, I'm kind of calling the campaign the King's Throne. It's kind of right around where it's starting as, and this is just my idea that will be expanded as we go. You guys are taking place in a small town because there's a number of kingdoms that don't like the common status quo. There's some kingdoms that enjoy it just fine, but there are some that still refuse to change and insist on paying adventurers, mercenaries, and stuff like that in what a majority of people consider a slightly inferior method of currency. And this method of currency is the traditional method of silver, gold, platinum, stuff like that. Where normally most people get paid in what is called dust. Because it can be found off of killing monsters.
And it must flow.
So,
Listen, I was told that I don't have to be like monitoring my P's and Q's. I can be chaotic a little bit here.
Hey, you could. God damn it.
Hey, I got the A-OK. That's all I cared. I got the one stamp of approval.
So, a little bit about the system. Rune Belts takes place in, well, a hybrid of a sci-fi fantasy kind of world. I'd say post-apocalyptic, but it's not per se. It is and it isn't. What the general populace knows is that, as far as anyone knows, the world is made of these strips of land that rotate around the planet's core. There are 4 layers of these strips, and they're literally just like belts around the core.
Roll credits.
Now,
I mean,
you could
essentially.
you could go to the edge of one of these belts and look down, and you'd see potentially the core. Well, kind of. You'd see the massive magic that surrounds where the core of the planet should be. Technically, you could try to throw yourself down there. You'll never make it. You could try to take a ship down there. You'll never make it. No one has ever traversed to the core in that directive of a method and survived. Well-known fact.
I guess we got to be the first.
There are ways to get to the core. That is not one of them.
Yeah.
Wait, so you
Mhm.
can't just throw yourself at the problem, literally?
You'll
I don't think
die.
that that's how that works.
Debatable.
Also, I need to step away for a hot moment.
Now, the space between each of the belts is also a well-known thing of terror. But there are some civilizations and some races that do come from that general area. The space between the belts is known as the Hollow. And the reason that it's known as it's being so scary is not for what you can see in the Hollow, but what you don't. You see, when you travel through the Hollow, you can travel and then suddenly be in the middle of a blizzard. Or 20,000 leagues under the sea. Or at the top of Mount Everest. You never completely know. Because there are these pocket dimensions that you can't see. That being said, there are still people that travel it, and there are still floating islands within the Hollow that have inhabitants. One of the more well-known islands is Dralskar, where the race of Dragonkin come from. I say Dragonkin, but they are really just dragons. Another race that comes from the Hollow is the Avius. They're kind of isolationistic view and hot and tight caste system of a race have led them to have, well, very unique traits within them. But also, there are some of the few that know how to navigate the Hollow. Without the needs of special equipment.
I mean, yeah.
But, that being said, I did say that this is a techno and fantasy kind of setting. What does it entail? Well, that can entail anything from lasers, cybernetics, and flying semi-trucks to dragons, wizards, and elves and dwarves. You see, the lower belts are kind of permeated by the runes of what came before. That's why it's common that people like to go down there and try to salvage equipment, technology, anything they really can. But the lower you go, the closer you get to the core. The closer you get to the core, the more chances you have to essentially suffer an overdose of mana. Mana, being in all things a form of life force, it's not good to overdose on mana.
I mean, yeah, I would assume not.
So, I'm gonna go through you guys. Let's just hear some of your guys' thoughts. A couple of the. There's only 3 kind of aspects because they're not classes. A class implies that they are trained, that they're not born with their abilities necessarily, or even if they are born with their abilities, they train their abilities up. And an aspect isn't that way. You're born with an aspect, and it's just a lot of times what people know you as. But even though you might have a specific aspect, doesn't mean that you can't be thievery, like roguish, or charming like a bard. That's where the expansions of the system that is gifts comes in. Gifts are going to cover things like proficiency with weapons, to very unique abilities that, like sneak attack or rage. Your aspect is going to be the closest thing to a class that is in the system, technically. Because as that levels up, you'll be able to gain access to more gifts. Now, there's 2 kinds of gifts. There's combat gifts and non-combat gifts. And there's a lot of confusion. Perks right now is the same thing as a gift. It's just, I haven't changed the name on everything yet. So starting with the aspects, there is the Futhark, also known as Breakers. The Futhark have the right and left hands of creation and destruction. They create and destroy an element. Wielding these elemental powers, they're able to create fields of fire, mirrors of ice, and eventually they're even able to cause things to decay or create portals where they can use to rip someone in half or rip chunks off of people. The Futhark is further split up into 3 different types of Futharks. You either have an emitter, who produces their element from their hands. Usually Futharks have to indicate to a point that they're going to be using their abilities because of the runes that are on the palm of their hands at birth. And as they level up and develop, those runes start to evolve and change, giving them access to more elements and even weird esoteric elements, or even advanced versions of their element. There's the manifestors, who specialize in taking their element and forming it into objects and weapons, where they're never without a weapon so long as their hands are free. But even further, some are never without a weapon or a doorway.
Yeah.
And then there's the augmenters. Augmenters dive a little bit deeper into the traits of the elements and buff people and buff their allies while debuffing enemies based off their elements. Like an augmenter might imbue themselves with lightning speed, giving them a larger movement range and a little more actions. Or they might imbue someone with interrupted shocks, where it can like stun them and cause them to potentially miss their attacks. The next class is the engineer, or the next aspect, I should say, is the engineer. The engineers are hard. A lot of engineers are viewed as non-magical beings, as non-magical people. But like I said before, everyone has mana, everyone has magic. And for the engineers, it takes the form of their inventions. Let me go to the document about engineers.
Ooh.
I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but
I mean, it would help.
It very much would.
so the engineers tend to have to worry about how much they modify their equipment, how well they take care of it, and what blueprints they're putting on or taking off of their equipment. Engineers have to worry about where their shots are going. Their resource, so each of the aspects have a form of a resource. For Futhark, it's balancing their mana between their creation and destruction. For Futharks, it's the art of invention. This background magic that...
You mean engineer, not Futhark?
So I thought I said for the engineer, it's the art of invention.
Oh, I misheard then, because I thought you said for the Futhark, it's art of invention.
Yeah. So for the engineer, it's the art of invention. This background kind of magic that not even most engineers realize is a thing. Where the engineer has the idea of that if I just switch a few things around on my equipment, I can actually have this mod on my equipment. And their magic makes that possible. Because in the truth, the engineer may not have thought of always having every one of their mods being accessible to a specific piece of equipment. When it comes down to the the specialized engineers essentially are like wizards in the fact that they specialize in categories of technology. Like the artisan is tools, weapons, and art. The alchemist, also known as synthesizer or doc, specializes in medical equipment, potions, bombs, poisons, stuff like that. A pilot is a general term because pilots specialize in vehicles. This is from your flying vehicle to a ship-based vehicle to a car that can cross the hollow. Or, in the case of one of the more, depending on who you ask, hated organizations, the Dragon Slayers, even mech suits. Next up after them is the Splicer. Splicer, their specialization is the necessarily, I don't need that arm, I need my other arm. Let me just attach that one. They specialize in augmenting their body and replacing body parts. And maybe not necessarily even on themselves. They might replace body parts on others. And then they modify those. They might have two different eyes that one carries a mod for a laser, and then the other has a freeze ray. Potentially. The last of the types of engineers is the controller. Controller, in the simplest terms, is the summoner of engineers. But also, they're the drone experts. They have these drones that help them out on the battlefield. One is for combat, some are for utilities, some are for, making sure everyone's okay on support, like healing them or giving bonuses to armor and stuff like that. So that's kind of what the controller is and everything. And that's each of the specializations of the engineer. Going on to the last aspect. The last aspect is the spirit caller. Spirit caller is another very interesting aspect. See, the spirit caller, when they're born, their souls have fragmented. They have ends that aren't filled, to say. Spirit caller usually has some type of attunement to one kind of spirits that they end up preferring, whether it be undead, elementals, or beasts and monsters. Oftentimes, an engineer is born with a second soul in them, in some form or another. This being usually their first contract.
You mean spirit caller?
I said spirit caller.
You said engineer.
Did I say engineer? Pretty sure I said spirit
Yes.
caller.
Unless I am once again mishearing it, but I could have sworn that you just said the engineer was born with two souls, one the first being the contract. That's what I'm like, wait, what?
Sure, is that spirit color? I don't know. Maybe you're just trying to gaslight me. You would.
I don't think I'm trying to. I'm literally hearing this. Am I like the only one that's hearing this, by the way?
No.
Oh, see? Haha! Proof. Lilith provided me proof. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, the spirit caller will usually start out with a secondary spirit related to whichever spirit type their contract or they're attuned to. That's what I meant to say. So it could be a benign ghost, a wolf, a elemental imp, and that's usually just what their first contract is. That being said, they do eventually, because of their twin soul, they get a couple of unique abilities like a sixth sense that helps them identify danger, and at lighter levels, their spirit can help interact with the world. And that being said, their specializations are a little bit unique as well. First one being a summoner. As with all summoners, they have to split their actions with their creatures that they have summoned, but they are never alone. The second specialization is a shifter. Now we all know what a shapeshifter is. Shifter is under that same category where the spirit caller calls upon traits and abilities of their spirits and essentially shift their bodies to be able to use those traits or abilities.
For the legal designation, I was just going to say, for the legal designation, a shape shifter or a shape changer is someone who can change their form into another thing. The most common thing is, or the most common, I guess you could say, depiction of this is, say, a skinwalker in our real everyday life mythos that may or may not exist. If you want to find out more, go.
Oh, you gotta
take a
go
look at
American
Skinwalker.
on that.
I mean, it's Indian, like Native American. So,
I mean,
what do you
you're
want me
right,
to go about
you're
that?
right. You're right. There's a couple of other in the Japanese mythos. The kitsune is a shapeshifter. Is often depicted as a shapeshifter.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if for whatever reason this happens to be like the first time that anyone's hearing of a shapeshifter or shape changer, that they can now have access to go look up what a skinwalker is, or now a kitsune,
I,
and then they can
I
get a
just
better
really-
example of it.
I am so sorry, people. If you choose to
What are you
look up the
sorry for?
skinwalker, those things are horrifying. Whoa.
Oh, it's really funny if you then go looking up like the Wendigo after the skinwalker. Oh, it's fucking crazy.
Oh, evil. And I'm supposed to be the evil one.
What do you mean I'm not supposed to be the evil one?
You're not the GM.
I am a GM in other games. I can be evil. Lilith can't test.
Anyways,
Anyways, what's your explanation of shifters?
the shifters, like I said, they can change their body parts to be able to mimic the abilities or traits of the creatures that they've made contracts with. The last one for spirit callers is the shaman, or also known as the tribal. I call them a shaman. Tribal is what their actual name is. I know there are other tribal references to them.
Ooh. I couldn't resist the like Age of Mythology joke with that.
Now I feel old.
You feel old for me making an Age of Mythology joke?
Just a little bit.
Alright, cool. Mission accomplished. I have caused psychic damage.
How many d4s of psychic damage, though?
I don't know. Hey, Jade, where's that Discord thing? Actually, wait a minute. Hold on. I got access to the
roll 20.
I can do it there. We'll say for how long he took, it was 3d4. He took 4 points of psychic damage. I rolled really cruddy on
Good.
3d4.
Good. Shamans.
I don't know if that's good.
Shamans are unique in the fact that their contracts aren't as limiting, but they can only make a contract for specific abilities of creatures. Let's say, for example, that contract with a wolf for a tribal would be for their sense of smell, their ability to track things by scent and stuff. Now the tribal could go and make what they call a fetish and then give that to one of their allies. And while the ally is attuned to this fetish, they have a bonus to their scent tracking, essentially. Because that's the ability the fetish is given to them. Or let's say there's a creature. Let's go with a creature who has large spines and deals damage back onto attackers. A shaman would also be able to make a totem that then, when they put the totem down onto the ground, everything within a certain area of that totem now has this backlash of damage. So whenever they're hit with melee, they deal a backlash of damage. Looks over at the Discord.
Yeah, I feel a little targeted. I still feel targeted by you describing that.
It was one of the few other
What's the
abilities
description?
I think
of how the tribal works.
Oh, okay. Where did you describe it at?
He just described it in over the stream there, and I feel targeted because that's exactly what I did for his last for one of the things leading up to this.
And I mean, you killed the rats. The hard fight.
Yeah, while face tanking as a non-face tanking class.
Well, that's kind of the nice thing.
My bad aspect.
That's kind of the nice thing. You could essentially build yourself up in a way that, even though your aspect is not necessarily a face tanky kind of aspect, you can make it face tanky. That's the benefit of the gifts. I'm not saying that's what
kind
you
of
did.
Part of my goal here.
It flipping hurt though.
Which brings me on to my next section. Combat. This system doesn't use the traditional combat. So many systems use, You try to hit me, you miss me because my AC is so high.
Don't forget to swap over to the combat preference. It might help with explanation.
But most systems use what I would roughly describe as a just stagnant defense. I've got armor, I've got a shield. It gives me this much. Now you have to go through that to hit me. That being said, every round of combat, at the top of the round, everyone re-rolls what their defensive roll is. On your turn, you can spend one action to re-roll that defensive roll again, if you feel like it. But you can only do that once. Other than that, unless another effect, such as specialized attacks, change your defensive roll by forcing you to reroll again, that's what your defense is. But there are only 3 types of defensive rolls. And this does use the 10 above and 10 below for critical success and critical failure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just popping over to the Roll20 to see what you guys are talking about.
Yeah. No, you don't need to be popping over. Continue
I feel
describing.
like I need to pop over more.
What do you mean? I mean, I could easily change the location of this too.
We could just go to DMs and plot.
That's what I was like implying. Is like, at least there's like, physical proof of like, hey, we're having this conversation there, so that way you could just like read back on it.
The system uses a 3-action system, and every attack after the first does incur a negative penalty on the to-hit roll. And with the active defense system, it really makes it not necessarily worth it just to strike 3 times on certain creatures. Especially when you know what their defense roll is, unless you can change it. That being said, being creative is one of the best things you can do in this system, because it can potentially lead to you being able to do something that changes their defense roll. As for the 3 defense roll types, there is dodging, which, I mean, the best way to avoid damage is to not be where the damage is going to be applied. Then there's blocking, which will lead us to a whole nother discussion in a second. And then there is force of will. Force of will is, I don't care if you hit me, I'm still going to punch you in the face. Force of will is also overcoming a number of mental effects and stuff like that. To give you an example of what might change a roll to a force of will roll. But also, technically, force of will is one of the few rolls that does not change and always has to be re-rolled at the top of the round. While the other 2 don't necessarily always have to be re-rolled, because you can maintain a defense like a dodge or a block. Force of will gives you temporary hit points to eat up damage that would be coming your way. blocking, going back to blocking is a way to both reduce damage and eat damage. See, your armor will eat so much damage for you before you start taking damage. And this all depends on how well you block. Successful blocking means that you're able to redirect all the damage into your armor. Unsuccessful blocking means that only a specific amount of the damage is eaten by your armor, and then the rest is eaten by you. So, the only surefire way to avoid damage is either successfully block, and even then, in that case, your armor's still taking all the damage, or dodge. The system is meant to be very versatile, meant to be very creative, players and the DM in all cases. Not saying that other systems aren't creative. But it is a system that's meant for you to think out of the box. Just because I swing my sword and I hit this person doesn't mean I can't jump off my sword and try to belly flop them to change what their defensive role is.
So clarification for those who may not be able to follow along so much. You can essentially force another person or force your target to use a different defense that they haven't chosen for the start of the round, which is pretty handy. Such as if you're a, physical attacker, and that squishy mage chose to dodge. Well, he can choose to dodge, but if you're, suddenly shooting, I don't know, flamethrower at them for some odd reason, becomes very difficult to dodge that. Or if you do a mental attack, just to throw the wizard off, that'd be really funny. Not wizard, spellcaster.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. I always like, using blocking as a way to explain away. Because you're not blocking the giant's hammer coming down on you. You're getting the hell out of the way. Now, the world of Laveria, which is the world of Rune Belts, is expansive. Even though it is just belts of land, it's larger belts of land than the planet was originally had. And that's just something that you could potentially find out about. Or not. Who knows? That being said, for my players, what are you kind of hoping to get to see? I know I have a specific direction that I'm kind of thinking I want to draw this towards, but I don't want to think selfishly. We're here to all make a story, not to watch the story that I'm making.
Well, I don't really have much of an idea other than adventure.
I mean, in the end, it's mostly just assess the system.
Yeah.
I think that's the big part here.
Dude?
Jade. Uh-oh. I hope Jade's all right.
They might have stepped away.
They might have stepped
They
away.
might have stepped away.
Well, like I said, I am trying to make it into just an actual campaign, which it may evolve into an actual campaign that I put with when I do the actual playtest, like the public playtest packets. Maybe it won't. I'll say anything specific for your guys' characters probably won't go into the playtest, but when I say that,
Fair
I mean
enough.
like the playtest packet ideas.
Uh,
So does that mean like the stuff that we do and make here, it doesn't really matter too much?
No, it will matter. It will do
Okay.
things to the world and stuff. It just may not necessarily make it into the playtest packets that will go out as a general thing.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'm more looking at things like your troubled past of a rogue.
oh, great. The stereotypical troubled past of a rogue.
I was
Yeah,
an orphan. I was an orphan. I had to steal for my food. Not saying it's a bad stereotype, just saying it's a stereotype.
I mean, get more creative. I've heard it 1,000 times.
So like those character growth moments and stuff like that may not make it into the playtest packets.
Understandable. So I have a question.
I have an answer.
With regards to the Apotheosis Griffin,
Yes.
I was wondering with regards, as the description that you have here, they're made of crystal energy or plants or metal. And then scrolling down, at least with your pack here, is the ore supposed to be like the metal version of that?
Yes. So the Apotheosis Griffins are a race born from a curse. The first Apotheosis, senior Apotheosis, one would say, caused his entire family line to be cursed and essentially transformed into what they are now. These almost construct-like creatures who the center core of their spirit and their lives has something else fused with it, which determines what kind of Apotheosis Griffin they are. Things like you're asking about the ore. The ore Apotheosis Griffins have some form of ore or another fused to them, fused to their core. Bloop. See you guys over there playing cards.
Maybe.
We're like super innocent.
Yes. Yes, stream. They're super innocent. Super duper innocent.
Indeed. Indeed we are.
Chat thinks we're innocent.
Now,
What?
another interesting thing to note about the Apotheosis Griffins, now that you brought them up, they have a lot of abilities that deal with specifically mana. Mana, as I said earlier, is the general resource of a person. Everyone has mana.
Yeah, they just have a innate way of gaining it.
They have an innate way of using it.
That too.
Because everyone has an innate way of gaining it. It's sleep. If your mana is reduced, your aspect pool is also reduced. Until you take a long rest. Using mana drains you. And it drains your aspect pool as well. You can restore your aspect pool if you have the mana. But if you don't have the mana, you can't restore your aspect pool. There are some places that mana might restore quicker. Some places where it will restore slower. But some of those places you must be really careful with. Mana poisoning is a thing. And it can be mean. Some people think it's a boon. It's not. It's a little bit like cancer.
So, an interesting question I have here is that for the steel, for example, the Steel Eater and Iron Core, when you choose ore as the thing there, those replace both of those?
Yeah, so Steel Eater,
Okay.
and it is as it says, it replaces energy absorption. The Iron Core replaces energy discharge. So when you're looking at the variants, and I did try to make sure I put this into each of them, that if something is replaced, it tells you what replaces off of the base variant. Or off the base creature. Race. Whatever I end up calling them. Species.
Yes, species for the current amount.
The Apotheosis Griffin being a very unique, very unfortunate souls. A lot of them don't like any Griffin that actually has the namesake. So that Griffin's line is still continuing. But I mean, in their shoes, I can't necessarily blame them. Would you like a family name that caused you to be a robot?
I mean, it's an interesting idea.
Did you have more questions?
Regarding the race, no. Mainly because I'm now sort of stuck at the point because the idea that I was originally going to do was either once again like from the playtest be a gold dragon and be that silly noodle, or go with the Apotheosis Griffin and go with the metal version while also still being a tribal.
You can do that.
I just wasn't certain if I should do that or not.
I'm not going to tell you not to.
Oh yeah. Of course, the other idea was to just be a Fruth or
Futh.
Fruth.
Futhok.
Yeah, that word. Trying to say it is a little bit weird.
Well, let's go down this choice. Let's go down this line of people. My lovely players, and tell us as much or as little as you want about your idea of your character.
Well, I guess I'll go first, since I've already spat out enough about things there. But there's the idea of being the silly, childlike golden dragon that you saw me play for the previous things leading up to this, which honestly feels kind of good just to go back to something that I've done already. But at the same time, it's an interesting idea to go into something that is new, or at least to change it up and maybe try something different. My only thing is that the thing that I would want to do, one, noodle scared of tree, a noodle scared of trees doesn't really work because need to buff that stuff out. So the other idea would be to be like a crystal or metallic griffin, and then somehow also be linked to, elemental powers. And I don't know. At least in my head, it seems a bit odd with that. Not saying that it's outside of the realm of possibility. It's just that me myself, my head has a hard time.
The apotheosis griffins
grasping that.
are more commonly Futharks, but it's your character. I'm not gonna tell you how to play it.
Oh, I know. It's more of just like I've gotten the answer that I needed. Now I just need to sort of like chew on the bone, sort of see how I feel about it, see if the bone fits well, and then, well, either leave that bone, go for the other one, or stay with the bone.
Fair enough. What about you, Jade? Are you back with us?
Gonna take that as a no.
Yeah, I was looking for my awkward crickets. Speaking of which, where are they? I'm looking for it.
So we'll go over to you, Lilith. So tell us as much or as little as you really want to tell us about your idea for a character.
Well, there's not too much to say about them at the moment. I know I want to play an engineer that uses cybernetics as a splicer to enhance their combat abilities, and I guess get in a way some extra battlefield control, I suppose. It's interesting. I have some ideas, but there's not much I can really put into like certified like words right now, like what I'm going to do.
There's an idea, but you
very
don't really
bare
have
bones.
it.
Exactly, it's very bare bones right now.
So sort of in the same boat where I'm at, where it's just like I have a somewhat idea. I don't know if this will necessarily work, and I
mean,
don't
we really
know
just
where
started
to go.
talking about it today, basically. So,
I mean, we did. Although technically, I was thinking about like what I want to do prior to this, and I did think of like, I should take a look at the races, and then I was dumb and human, and I completely decided to put it off and not do that.
So chat, if chat thought you were innocent, they're definitely not saying that you're innocent.
What do you mean?
If they are innocent, then I am a 7-foot-tall German weasel named Martins Francisco Raul.
that's like oddly specific.
Yeah.
Ah, well, I'm just repeating back what chat said.
Oh, I see that. Droven Moon. What do you mean? I had to go pull you up on the other monitor.
To have two
I don't care.
monitors. I need a third one.
Yeah, I do need a third one. Now that I've seen that I could have, Moonbeam on one, Twitch on the other, and do my normal stuff on the third. Oh, so much better.
Oh, hello, people. Welcome, welcome. See, we just had a couple of other people join us.
Okay, well, that was weird. My roll 20 was weird.
Welcome, everyone. This is really just a session 0 right now. See you guys playing Go Fish.
We're keeping occupied while we hear the lore of the world.
Indeed.
What you're divulging so far.
Well, I mean, Dash, you've explained this multiple times to both of us. We were in fact with you.
Chat's the one that doesn't know.
We've been helping you create this sort of stuff.
That's
and
fair.
you mean to tell me that we can't
fair.
like chime in a little bit and then also play Go Fish on the side?
We're vibing.
we're vibing with Goldfish in a session 1.
Session 0.
And fair, session 0.
Yeah.
Waiting for the juicy character creation bit.
Well,
The juicy character creation bit, as well as also, Jade to come back and possibly, grace us with her voice.
Tell us a little bit about Jade and what Jade's thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So in the meantime, I had a pair of 6s, so I put that down. Do you have any 10s?
Just hang it, guys. I'll go a little bit over the character sheet.
All right, well, we'll go back to typing.
So,
let me just actually pull up the character sheet so that way I can follow along.
character sheet's pretty bare bones, pretty basic. I want to make it better. It will be better eventually. You've got your 6 stats. In a classic D&D, or I say D&D, but really it's ttrpg. You've got your strength, your dex, your constitution, a little bit of knowledge, charisma, and truth. Knowledge is your general intelligence. It's great. It's coming up with new ideas. It's what you would think. It's like I said, it's your intelligence. What have you learned and all that. Charisma is as charisma says. And then Futh is your tie to magic. And the magic of the world. Magic of the belts, I should say.
Right now.
Now, as you can kind of also see here, name, race, your sub-aspect, all that's kind of just normal stuff that you would see. What kind of comes into the difference is rune points, which is your balance. Art of invention, which is also tied to rune points. Rune points is, in essence, your total mana. And your contracts / fragments. You have a place for where your aspect can be, where you can describe what your aspect ability is. You have a place for your race gifts and your race flaws. Then you have a place for all your combat perks, or gifts, I should say. That's going to be where you're going to be putting like, I'm proficient with simple weapons, or I'm proficient with this kind of weapon. Weapon, armor, your general equipment, magic/tech perks. Now this one might interest you, Lilith. That's usually you cannot just get magic/tech perks per se. They usually come in some form of augmentation or boon. As a splicer, you're gonna be one of those people that deal in a lot of tech gifts. Because you're gonna get gifts from your augmentations.
So there's gifts that affect augmentations?
All the way around. Augmentations that
Augmentations
gives
that affect
gifts.
Oh, that give gifts. Oh, okay.
That's part of what the splicer is all about, is replacing body parts and giving gifts through their augmentation.
Interesting.
There are other types
Be really
of magic, like magic gifts would be like boons you get from the gods. Which there are some gods in this. Gods and minor gods.
Oh, please do not go into the pantheon. That's that's opening a can of worms.
I'm mostly trying to like get into like cybernetics to give me like abilities, not just gifts.
Gifts can be abilities.
Fair enough.
And then there's non-combat gifts or perks. Then the skill list, which is large, but I feel like it covers everything that needs to be covered. That being said, hello newcomers. Welcome to seeing me setting up for the King's Throne. This is session 0. We've talked a little bit about some of the characters and what they're thinking. Talked to some of the players and what the characters that they're thinking of playing.
Yeah, hi.
And they're gone.
Wow.
I need to get rid of that 20-second delay.
Maybe bring it down to
5.
maybe 10. 5 to 10.
A few seconds is okay, but like a super long delay, people have very little attention span.
Yeah, in this day and age of TikTok, yeah. Lilith knows all about that, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, I'll tell you a couple of the directions I am thinking that story will go into. Where they end up going ultimately will be your guys' choice. But I do have a couple of directions I have in mind for the story. And those directions are involving portals, looking at some of the various lower belts, and potentially looking at some of the quiet places. But we'll see what ends up happening in the long run. After all, I can't trust players to stay on the fucking tracks. Good.
Tracks? What are those?
Those metal things right over there that have the nails in them, that, you put a box with wheels on, and it goes in that direction.
Oh, no. We're nowhere near Grospec, so we can't be tracks. Can't be the railroads.
But long story short, I hope you all will join us in a couple of weeks when everyone has their characters all made. We have the actual first session. It should be fun. Should be interesting. And we'll get a whole nother chance to introduce the characters and any information that they want to know. It's sessions are going to be an hour, maybe 2.
That sounds about right, mainly because at least what it seems is that it'll be starting about 7 p.m. your time. Go for about an hour or 2. So that's also if we can, have Jade stick around.
Jade and our other potential players.
Oh, wait a minute, Jade, are you here?
Teehee.
Jade has secretly been here the entire time, just listening.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Took you.
I don't think Jade ever left. I think they've just always been here. Just haven't had questions.
Sounds about right.
Well, Jade, before we go, why don't you tell us, what interest give us some of the Jade view on all of this. Especially with being one of the few people here that haven't had the constant exposure to it. I would love to hear what you think of the aspects, what you think of playing, from race to aspects, or whatever. If you're interested in any of the lore or anything like that, I'm curious.
Before anything, I had a slight general idea. Very, very general. Of this sounds like it would be fun to try out during the game. But now I'm at the point where I just want to know more. I'm just invested.
Are you still there? I think you died.
Did
Yeah, I think your last word was "invet" and you died right after saying
She
that.
said she's invested.
She said that she was invested, yeah.
Yes, I am. The main
Okay.
thing is I'm just really invested and want to know more.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that a lot of this has interested you. May I ask, what's your general idea that you're thinking of playing as?
Knowing me, I need at least a little bit more time to decide because I'm not gonna make the right decision right away.
You think that we're going to make right decisions?
Well, damn, at least I can have confidence in my new friends.
You have confidence in us?
Let's
Or at
go!
least me?
Confidence!
Not anymore, I guess.
No, you can have confidence in me, Jade. I'll always make.
You can have confidence in her. In me? As a player, sure.
He's gonna do something goofy.
I am going to do something goofy, though. I don't know what I'm going to do that's goofy, but I'm going to do something that's goofy.
Oh no.
He is good. I will give him that. I've played with him a number of times. He is good about, even though it's a goofy character, he doesn't over goof.
It's gonna be silly, goofy all over again.
No, it isn't. I'm going to do something.
Best part.
I'm going to do something that will irk others, but it's not going to irk you to the point of I don't want to play with this person.
Oh,
Like you could get to that point with me.
I don't think
I challenge that. I'm worried.
that is not a challenge.
The silence. The silence.
Well, it's been about an hour and a half, roughly. A little short of an hour and a half. Any closing questions for me, you guys? I know we're missing at least one other person. I think Oreo was going to join us, but he had some other stuff come up. Hopefully, he can join us in 2 weeks in the actual first session it's going to be. I will be available over the next couple of weeks for helping with character creation. I fear most of our viewers aren't going to be completely interested in watching the character creation, so I'll do it off screen.
Yeah, it can, at least from a first person's point of view, be a little daunting. And this is from someone who's played, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but at least a decade's worth of tabletop RPGs. So, yeah, it can be daunting at first, but when you get sort of the rhythm of how things are done, everything seems to work out with that.
I see.
I will say we'll use the stat array to make things simple. So we won't roll for drove in 2 weeks. You'll have to fight Mustang for it, but you might be able to beat him.
I like fighting
What?
things.
I feel like that robot from Robot Chicken. What?
Joven wanted to join
There's
us
always finding
for
things.
wants to join us for the playtest games. Note that these aren't going to be the only playtest games I'm going to be doing. These ones specifically, and this one every 2 weeks is going to be the streamed playtest game. I still am planning to do other playtest games off screen, test other things. But this one is going to be a campaign that people can join us for.
Yeah.
There's a whole slew of other things that I could talk about. I could talk a little bit about some of the legends that are in this world. The Pantheon actually isn't so large. It doesn't use any traditional Pantheon. I'll tell you that right now. So there's no traditional gods that you would know of. That being said, it is definitely a unique Pantheon. From the god of death that tends the garden of dead trees on white, almost opaline stones, to the god of the elements and balance, who seeks to try to restore the world to what it was before. To even the goddess of fate and secrets and assassins, who sticks her nose in some stuff sometimes too often. And the god of knowledge, who always loves to hide in plain sight. And then there's even like the minor gods, which there's very few of them. There are 2 that I know of off the top of my head that I have up. For minor gods, the 2 that I have are the foxes of the sun and moon. The 2 lovers that are always chasing each other. One bringing nightmares, the other bringing pleasant dreams. But the Pantheon is, I wouldn't say necessarily robust. Maybe. It's a Pantheon, to say the least. The weapons that you can use, depending on... There is Futharks still have the limitation that they can't use modern guns to a point. But they could use like flintlocks and stuff. Guns are powerful. Guns do have a decent amount of power, including things that allow them to rip and shred through armor. That being said, guns don't get benefits from like any stats specifically. And that just kind of all leads in the whole aspect that it's a fantasy and a sci-fi game in one. Who knows what you'll find?
Yeah.
Who knows where the story will take us? And, well, till the next time. I hope all three of you had your questions at least somewhat answered. And
I mean, the questions that I needed answered have been answered.
I did ask a lot of mine off stream. I
You
kind of
did.
apologize for that. I'm sorry. I got excited. I got a little bit excited. I was like, oh, question.
And I don't have a problem with that.
I thought we were going to do more like character creation stuff on stream, and then realized literally a few seconds ago that you wanted to do more questions on stream. And then I asked like too many of them beforehand.
Well, also would have been helpful if Jade was, able to speak previously.
Jade was able to speak, but she was being a little stanker and just listening to everyone instead.
Pretty much.
I like the gremlin energy, to be honest.
Wow, Jade, Lilith pegged you.
Of chaos.
Yo.
Wait a minute. Hold
Hold
on.
on.
That doesn't quite work because she doesn't have that on right now.
You can't see it, but I'm doing the eyebrow wiggle. Dash.
Yeah, but I know Lilith on a certain degree here.
Sorry,
And I know that she doesn't have her unique thing currently strapped on.
Not
So
the
she
unique
can't
thing.
peg anyone.
Shh. No
Dash
one
doing
else.
something.
Don't see anything.
Dash doing a thing.
If this wasn't like
What do you
obvious,
know?
there
What
is.
do you know?
If this wasn't obvious, this is an 18+ stream.
I hope we have that in the tags.
As they say, due
Dash
to the
goes
nature of improv, there will be
Dash goes
things
knows. Don't thing. I'm gonna see how long I can do this.
due to the nature of improv, there will be moments where things might be due to the nature of improv, there might be things that are discussed, said, or otherwise
I can
that
play this for years.
might be upsetting or offensive. Please, if you find yourself upset or offended, please take a step away, take a breather, calm down. When you finally feel like you're ready to come on back, it is improv. Things will kind of just happen. But that's kind of the beauty of improv.
That's the best part.
The piles of shit that you end up stepping in. Why is he in the hole?
I'm just chilling in this hole. It's my home.
All I'll have to make sure I make that disclaimer at the beginning of the next video. Everyone, please have a lovely night. My viewers that found the chance to come join and watch and learn a little bit about this passion project that I've been working on for years now. Thank you for coming and watching. Thank you for your comments. Players, thank you for coming and joining me. Hopefully we'll have everyone next week. Or not next week, but 2 weeks from now. When is that? That is
2 weeks from now, that will be 29th.
Yep, the end of June on the 29th, which I don't think is a holiday. I realize this fell on a holiday that is important to a number of people.
It's Father's Day.
Yep. I only realized that today.
Don't remind me.
And either way, thank you all for joining us. You all have a lovely night. We'll see you next time that Laveria is in danger.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Laters.